could also be reduced or absent, and further allowing this acid to eat up the stomach. And when this happens, you come down with what you call the peptic ulcer disease. Peptic ulcer disease can be caused by a couple of things. One of them is stress. During stressful moments, there's a hypersecretion of acid, right? Just to break down the food in it. It's natural. In the whole body, when you're stressed, the body metabolic rate is increased and intensified, and you have many activities going on. Carbohydrates is broken down, more proteins are broken down, fatty acids are broken down to provide one major thing, which is glucose, to allow you to think, send glucose to vital organs. One of them is the brain, the other is the eye, the other is the heart. All these organs, want to function optimally. Now, the gastric juice is also enhanced to break down any food in your body. So that's why if you just ate and you get into very major activity, not long after you'll be looking for the food. Or if you're chewing gum, because those are signs of stress. Now, so stress is one of them. But then when you try stress in an empty stomach, recurrently, you are giving room for this acid to act on the walls of your intestine. The second major cause of peptic ulcer disease is a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori. Helicobacter pylori is a very dangerous bacteria because, a bacteria that dwells in acid, I really don't know what you want to do to that bacteria, but basically, it stays there and it eats up the lining of the intestine, all right? So this is one of the implicative factors for those who are positive for ulcers. One of the third causes is the use of drugs, certain drugs, or certain chemical substances that are erosive, caustic soda. One of that one is some of all these drugs you buy on the road, you just ingest them, you swallow them anyhow, especially pain relievers. That's why you don't just go out to take pain relievers just anyhow. They affect the stomach, and of course they potentiate, because what they do is they inhibit that mucous membrane I talked about that prevents the acid from getting on the stomach, and then they remove it. And you see, you have the acid, the direct contact, and then you have some ulceration, wounds in your stomach, and it can get so bad that by the time those wounds get then straight to a vessel, it ruptures the vessel, and then you have bleeding. So you have people bleeding sometimes, all right? And then one other cause is a genetic factor. So sometimes ulcers can be genetic, all right? It's called the Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, where the vagus nerve that supplies the intestine is hyperstimulated, and so you have excessive secretion of acid. And listen, this is specific for certain people, okay? Just the way some people sweat more than other people, just the way some people, eat more than the other people. Some people produce saliva more than other people. You can also produce gastric acid more than other people. Well, the word is try to eat recurrently. Don't fast every time. If you're fasting, let it clear that you're fasting, okay? And you want to fast guidedly, okay? Maybe with a doctor. You like to see your doctor first and be sure that you're good to go, okay? If not, you don't do it recurrently, okay? What other things can you do to prevent it? Yeah, irrational use of drugs. Don't just take drugs because you see them. Don't drink chemicals easily. The use of alcohol potentiates it. Regular intake of alcohol exposes you to possibilities of coming down with peptic ulcer disease. Now, one other thing is ingestion of diet. What kind of food should you do? High levels of acid containing diet should be minimized. All right. Sometimes you see people taking all kinds of concussions, herbal concussions. You are exposing yourself to great dangers. Okay. When you do all kinds of acid containing meals or diet, lime, you're trying to mix lime and ginger, and you're trying to lose weight, but you are potentiating something else. So it's important that you are careful what you are mixing, prevent it. You don't have to take excessive protein diet. Some people like to take roasted meat, for example, what we call suya locally. You do a lot of suya and you do a lot of alcohol. That can potentiate peptic ulcer disease for people. So prevent it by reducing this type of foods. Try not to take a lot of carbonated drinks. Alcohol dropped drastically. Water is very important. And before you do some of these things, please eat right. All right, eat your balanced diet. Don't skip meals. For basic treatments, you just get to meet your doctor who would prescribe the drugs for you. But you're not supposed to eat heavy foods, but just eat in bits. All right. So you wake up in the morning, you want to sometimes do alkalinized water and then a slight breakfast. Not anything acidic. A balanced diet is fine. If you must go for a fast, then tell your doctor. Major symptoms, remarkable symptoms of peptic ulcer disease is that you have painful sensation here on your upper stomach. Many times that gets you to the back. Many people have diagnoses of peptic ulcer disease, which are really not peptic ulcer disease. So they come up to the hospital and they say I have ulcer. And I say, who said? And they say, well, my auntie said, or my uncle said. No, you have to have a diagnosis of peptic ulcer disease. And one of them, like I said, is a test of H. pylori. The other test is, which is usually the gold standard. There's urine breath test, one of the tests, but the gold standard is an endoscopy, where you get to see the internal organ and be sure that there's a wound there. And this usually happens when there's bleeding, from the mouth or from the anus. All right. Other symptoms, like I said, is bleeding. You have bleeding. So you don't just have pain. You have pain that spans from this upper stomach down to the back. So it feels like a dagger piercing through you, down to the back. It's characteristic of that. Okay. Especially worsened when you've not eaten or when you just ate. The moment you take in food, you feel that sharp pain that, wanes for a while. So food affects the pain. Okay. Of course, bleeding is one of the side effects, one of the symptoms of peptic ulcer disease, bleeding either from the mouth, just see slight trace of blood, or from the anus. One more thing is the heartburn. You feel that constricting pain, heartburn. Then lastly, there are few other symptoms, but one of the remarkable symptoms is a headache. You have a persistent headache that can be called a migraine. Not necessarily a migraine, but many people just say, oh, it's a migraine, but it's not. You notice that headache coincides with when you have the stomach pain, or it precedes the stomach pain. Now, that is a kind of symptom of a peptic ulcer disease. Usually, it's said that some of the brain cells, have some mimicking cells that look like the ulcer cells. So whenever the ulcer is firing, or whenever the gastric acid is firing, you have the same firing occurring in the brain, and you have that headache. Whenever you have it, you need to treat properly for peptic ulcer disease.
Hello and welcome to One on One. My name is Fumi Onajefe, and today we'll be talking about road safety in Nigeria. My guest is Assistant Corps Commander Sani Abdullahi. He's the unit commander for Lekki Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps. He has an MSc in Defense and Strategic Studies from the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, and BSc in Political Science from the University of Abuja. He has experience in the FRC. He has served in various positions in the Corps, including Staff Officer Operations, Head of Protocol Unit at Kaduna State Sector Command, and Media Assistant to Corps Marshal. He has been the Unit Commander for the Lekki Unit Command since August 2021. Welcome with me. Good day, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for making our time to join us today.
I appreciate the platform.
Okay, so let's talk about your growing up. What was growing up like for you, sir?
Oh, God. Thank you very much. I happened to be born in Ajobe.
Okay.
That is somewhere in Ankpa local government area of Kogi State.
Okay.
In the 60s. I'm a grandfather now.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah. That's nice.
And as it was at that time, a child growing up was, first of all, a Muslim child.
Yeah.
First of all, start with Quranic school.
Okay.
I completed my Quranic school, and as I was completing it, I started primary school.
Oh, okay.
Ending my primary school, I went to Tenka School. From Tenka School, knowing that I didn't have so much play with tools and working with electrical instrument that I read. I had to go and do my external GCE, which I passed.
Yeah, okay.
After which I went to University of Ibadan, Adult Education Center, got my advanced level GCE. From then I proceeded to the University of Abuja, after which I joined FRSC, and all the long, here we are today.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you
yes.
very much for that.
Yes.
So let's talk about, so every time Road Safety Corps or, policeman or even LASMA, but usually it's the Road Safety Corps members that check my car. So I have a fire extinguisher, I have a C caution. Well, they usually let me go when they just check my papers, really.
Okay.
But I just wanted to find out, is there any other thing, even if the Road Safety Corps member is not checking for it in your car, what are the essentials that a car owner should have, whether a commercial bus driver or a private car owner? What should they have?
Thank you for that experience. The idea of we now delving into checking those things because of the consequences of not having them. They look basic, but definitely they are very, very important.
Okay.
So even if it's not for checking, in your own interest, in your own safety interest, you should have those basic things. For instance, when they check something like fire extinguisher, it looks, many people forget that fire extinguisher is as important to you as the vehicle you are driving. Because in the event of any fire accident, that 10,000, 5,000 naira fire extinguisher could save the whole of your millions of naira vehicle.
Okay.
People misunderstand it. The triangular warning sign, they see caution.
Yes.
Yes, as minor as it is, as minor as people take it to, you discover that if your vehicle breaks down suddenly on the road, you cannot move away from the road. You have to walk on it there, put it at the back, where people that are coming will be warned that a stationary vehicle is in front. And anybody who did not observe that and still run into you cannot say that person is guilty of not being diligent. You understand?
Yeah.
And you look at issues of a light sign violation, like your trafficator, your full headlamp, your brake lights. These are things people take for granted. They believe that they don't need it. But we also know that these are minor things that people overlook, but are very important. So when they check all these things, and they also come to the issue of, let me look at your extra tire.
Okay.
Yes, you will think that you are safe when your tires are functional, you are moving, but not knowing that in the event of that tire, getting punctured, you need another one, which you may not get. And the place this happen may not be the place where you can keep the vehicle. Go and look for the tire to be the one that you are using to be repaired before you now join it. All these are things that are measures. You may not use them, but when you need to use them, are they available? So these are the basic things that.
So how often? So if I buy a fire extinguisher, how regularly should I, change it? Does it expire? So is it until I use it, or it's just there in my car?
It expires, and the expiring days are there.
Okay.
So if you have fire, many people we have seen, majority of them don't even know how to operate it. But it's not something you need to go to school to do. Or read the instructions. They are normally put there. And you may buy it just like tire too. Tires are like drugs. They also expire.
Okay.
Many people don't know that the tire you are using also have expiring date. They are there. But many people don't look at them. Therefore, they just believe that they bought new tires. But those new tires have expiring date that might have even expired. You understand? Just like a fire extinguisher too. The fire extinguisher you buy now may look new, or you might have bought it brand new, but it's expired. Therefore, it's still not serve the purpose of which you have bought it.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about education from the FRC to especially commercial drivers.
Yes.
Do you go to their motor parks? Because I see them all the time. So for example, this morning on my way to work,
Yes.
I saw an overloaded food truck. It was carrying food items going to the island, and this little was not a very big truck, was tilted to the other side and moving at a very slow pace.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out, beyond just arresting them on the highway, do you go to their motor parks to educate them, to talk with them, even in the markets, open places?
Yes.
What does the FRC do to educate these drivers?
Thank you. You see, FRC management, in its wisdom, directed all the field operators that every morning, from units to the sector, every operational base of the corps, you must go to garages.
Okay.
Talk to the driver even before they set out for their daily activities. Talk to them on the need, first of all, to make sure they check the basic items, tire, water in their vehicles, the wiper, and other basic things. And the need for them not to do some certain, engage in some certain traffic violations, like you have mentioned, overloading. The consequences of overloading the vehicle. Because when you overload the vehicle, you are not only overburdening the vehicle, you are creating the opportunity for you not to maneuver in the event of any incident. Because you are reducing the lifespan of that vehicle through constant overloading. So we put all these information to them. Though we may not reach everyone every day, but as much as possible, we use all platforms, media platforms, part of which is what I'm even doing here now. Social media, mainstream media, motorpark rallies, conferences.
Oh, you have motorpark rallies?
Of course. It's part of what FRSC is known for.
Okay.
We organize motorpark rallies, and in fact, as we are going to the Ember Month now, you are going to be seeing the FRSC flagging up the campaign through motorpark rallies.
Okay.
Motorpark rally is one of our daily assignments, or common assignment that we carry out as a way of enlightening, updating, and educating the drivers on what to do and what not to do to avert road traffic crisis.
So now I am interested in those motorpark rallies that you talk about.
Yes.
What about the trailer parks? Because everybody in Nigeria knows how, and you are the FRC official who will have all the rates and
Yes.
how often trucks that carry containers,
Yes.
the heavy duty vehicles,
Yes.
how often they have their accidents.
Yes.
For the minutest of things, sometimes it's as bad as a friend of mine, her car was, thank God she had insurance
Yes.
for one of those heavy duty vehicles, and his brake was bad.
Yes.
And he would just say, Madam, I beg, no vex, my brake no catch. And I'm
Yes.
like, I don't understand.
Exactly.
So if you go to the trailer parks and you go to the motor parks and you have all those rallies, how come with this incidents are still on the increase?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We are living in a third world country where safety is always put at the back end. We don't take it to the front end. And it's part of the challenges that FRSC has to face. Before the establishment of the Corps in 1988, Nigeria was rated as one of the worst nation to drive motor vehicle on. And coming from that, you will see situations whereby when road traffic crises happen, Nigerians believe that it is an act of God or evil spirits. Fatalistic belief that don't attribute those causes to factors that scientifically are known. So we have to battle with that to create the impression that road traffic crises don't just happen. They are caused. And they are caused by factors that we know. And if we play by the rules, if we abide by those rules, we have confidence and trust that accidents will not happen. And even if they happen, they will not lead to death or fatal injuries the way we are seeing it. This has been the center point of our campaign all along. We are not getting over yet. We specifically look at the menace of vehicles falling. Let's say tankers falling, and articulated vehicle not properly hooked, also falling and causing hazards. We have had cause to engage in aggressive education, enlightenment, and enforcement. Part of which was even the issue of the minimum safety standards that vehicles, articulated vehicles, will meet up before they can be said to be operating on the road.
So what are the minimum safety standards that these vehicles should meet up?
These are one of them. As I speak to you now,
yes,
we have those that load, because when cases of petrol tankers falling became too much,
okay,
FRSC has to go into the questions of safe to load. That is physically deploying our men
okay,
who stay at those depot, and ensuring that whichever vehicle that will be made to load must have some basic things like the brake you are talking about.
Yes.
The brake must be functional. The lighting system must be there. The tires, and the driver himself must also have evidence.
But how do you ensure, for example, so it's one thing that your official is there.
Yeah.
So what if he flags the vehicle and says this vehicle cannot go, but they still go ahead and get on the road?
No, because we are there in cooperation with the management of those depots. Okay. Therefore, whichever vehicle we identify not fit to load cannot load.
So what happens when this vehicle? So what about vehicles that now have accidents? Do they go back and trace it maybe to your FRC officials? Because we are in Nigeria, yes, and sometimes officials can get compromised.
It's possible that, when we talk about accident, if it is a real accident have dimensions.
Yes.
It's possible that what has happened was something that was unavoidable. But if it's something that was a result of somebody's negligence,
yes,
it can also be traced. And I think we don't have such cases of a vehicle certified to have been safe to loaded and went to have. But of course, there are other places or areas probably which we have not covered and which those people could get all those items, and it could happen that way.
All right.
But definitely to cover the major ones that are engaged in this, we'll make sure that our men are there. And so far, that is why you are able to see reduce cases the way you are seeing now.
Okay.
If not, in 4 or 5 years back, you know how it was in this country, where you're hearing of it happening here, it happening the second day, and so on.
Okay.
It's a continuous effort.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we'll be looking at, December, the festive season is upon us. So we're just going to be looking at, all the safety measures we all need to take, especially with commercial vehicle drivers. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
When you hear of drug abuse, what comes to your mind?
When we say drug abuse, it seems like something that is so distant, but it's happening every day in our homes.
1 in every 4 persons has mental illness.
Regardless of your notion of what drug abuse is, you are sure to get the right meaning here. Welcome to Regardless, an anti-drug abuse television show put together by Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry.
Regardless, the anti-drug abuse show, airing on PlusTvAfrica every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you for staying with us. This is One and One. If you're just tuning in, my name is Fumiono Ajefe, and I have an FRC official with me today. So let's talk about now. The festive season is, we call it Ember months in Nigeria. Yes. September, October, November, and then December, the mother of all festivities in Nigeria. So how is the FRC preparing for this? And let's first of all talk in line with commercial drivers. We'll start with Lagos, for example, where we have the yellow buses. And we know that for anyone who has ever entered a yellow bus in Lagos, that seat belt doesn't really fasten. It's only most times when they see the FRC officials or last mile officials that they quickly just, put it on. So we're talking about going to their motor parks to educate them, but consistently, this young man, I know there was a time not so long ago, the sale of alcohol was banned in the motor parks. So what is the FRC doing about commercial drivers and safety of passengers?
Thank you. It's an issue in Nigeria where people maybe get up in the morning or they didn't sleep well. They want to artificially enhance their energy going through alcoholic or drug intake to keep them awake, and thereby making them to engage in acts that are hazardous to their life and the life of others. Like you mentioned earlier, that is why, in collaboration with relevant agencies, the sale of alcohol and some drugs within the parks were banned, so that at least the access to them could be restricted. And so that we can also be sure that whoever that is driving vehicle that we come across are not people that are under the social influences of illicit drugs, because we know the consequences of being there. What we are seeing in terms of people not understanding the benefit or adherence to the requirement for seat belts is the way it is in Africa or in the kind of society we live in, where education is very limited. I know when we started the campaign for seat belts, which is not even too long, majority of the people don't even know what the seat belt is all about.
Yes.
And they have never used it. They don't even know how it is. We even have to struggle with teaching people how since they started using it, we are seeing increased level of compliance. There are still some people that have still not keyed into it, but definitely improvements are obvious. That people these days now know that it is in their interest that when they are seated in the vehicle, either in the front or at the back, the hang the seat belt, because of the safety aspect of it, because of what the safety benefit of using seat belt. We have said it before, that overloading your vehicle, you are not helping yourself. And it is most common during this Ember month, during this Savior period, where many passengers are available, and the driver want to maximize the profit, the benefit by trying not only to overload, but also to overspeed, to speed to a level where they will go and come back and go and come back as many times as possible, so that they can drive. And the consequence of it is accident, crashes that could lead to death or fatal injuries, and ending people's lives in a manner that could be avoided. Okay,
let's talk about the fact that there's a time that the FRC, the federal government, your organization wanted your officers to carry firearms. At that point in time, how far has this gone? Because many people, even I kicked against it. I'm like, already with the policemen, we have so many issues. And then FRC officials, you have also seen videos of where some of the times, and I understand sometimes it can be frustrating. You're correcting, a motorist or a passenger and they're misbehaving. You get emotional. You're jumping on their vehicle. So what happens when you now have a firearm? You shoot the person down. So how far with that? Has it been put down, or you're still carrying on to having firearms?
Okay, I think your opinion, people with this kind of opinion is why FRSA management has not been too aggressive in pushing for that arms. Because immediately, in fact, majority of us have gone for the training.
But why? I wanted to find out, why do you need firearms?
No, we are also vulnerable to violent attacks from not drivers or motorists, but also from armed people who may want to attack us, or violent people who come with arms, and will become defenseless. We know over the years that the law that established the corps made provision for FRSC personnel to bear arms. But based on the experience our men have on the road to just armed attacks, the public opinion will want to say, no, we don't need FRSC to, and that's why government has been very, very reluctant. Outside that violent attack that our men subjected to sometime, and invading our offices where we become defenseless. We have been successful in using civil means
Yes.
to really enforce traffic rules in Nigeria. And even this debate came during the last National Constituent Assembly, during one of the assemblies, where one of the members was asking the Commercial then, that is there any nation that you can recall that can enforce law without arms? And you really may not have that examples. You understand? But we, in our own case, we have been very, very successful in enforcing laws without recourse to arms, to use of arms. And that is a very good example that Nigeria is having. Despite the violent environment, violent nature of the environment and the people with whom we have to enforce this law, at least we have been successful in enforcing the law without recourse to the use of arms.
All right, fantastic. We just have a few more minutes to wrap up. I just want you to give a message to the motorists on the road. What are the things that what are the things or one thing they need to know to ensure their safety on the road?
Thank you very much. First of all, when you operate with the consciousness that your families are waiting for you, you will not even need a law enforcement officer to restrain you from speeding, to make sure that you check your vehicle well before you enter it, and that as you are driving, you are not driving alone, you are driving and sharing the road with other road users, and that your action or the action or inaction of others, your lives will not depend on source, that you have responsibility to be defensive in driving, and making sure that you don't overload your vehicle, you don't overspeed, your lighting system are functional, your tires are properly inflated, not over, not under, and that you are not under the influence of any drug or alcohol, and that you can see and be seen, and that your judgment may not lead to anything happening to you. When you are operating like this, even if we cannot prevent accident from happening, we have the assurance that even if they happen, they may not lead to fatal death or fatal injury. These are the realities with life, that accidents don't just happen. They are caused and they can be avoided.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted to find out from you, what about your erring officers in FRC? How do you ensure that the officers, under your command are doing their job, they're not compromised, and and when they do fall out of line, they're punished, and when they also do very well, they're rewarded.
Thank you. In fact, FRSC is one organization that you can say have the strictest type of guidelines on monitoring their officers. We are people that, we are an organization that is dependent on civility as our principle. Even as the law trusts us with enforcement, they also trust us with attending to crash victims. We are blending regimentation with civility, and that is a peculiarity that is not too common. That as you are seeing me in uniform now, people see us as enforcers. We are also first aiders. You understand? Yes. That creates that personality that a nation must trust, and therefore we cannot afford a situation where our officer and men will betray that trust. That is why constantly they are under surveillance. Surveillance to make sure that whatever they do conform with the operational guideline. Under the surveillance, that they don't intimidate, they don't harass the people they accost in the course of doing their work. And two, that whenever there are cases of corruption, like taking bribe, well, no nation or no institution is able to say we are 100% pure. But in the case of FRSC, since we don't have a return system whereby people go to the road and do something and return to the command officer, they know that if you are involved, if you are caught, either by the command officer himself or outside surveillance, you are on your own. With that, that institutional support for corruption or corrupt practices does not exist in FRSA. And that has been our focus. And that is where we are.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Interesting. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. We'll be reaching out to you more often, talk about this, especially now, like we're going into September, October. We'll be, calling on you. And then please let us know about, your road rallies, motor park rallies to see, how we can also work with you so we can also enlighten people as well about this.
Right.
All right.
I assure you that whenever we are going to launch our coming number one at my own units.
Okay, please let us know. PlusTvAfrica would like to be a part of that. All right, thank you very much for taking out your time to watch and enjoy the show. I'm so sure you have learned some things from it today. Stay with us again, and we'll be on your screen next week. My name is Fumino Ajefe.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Nigeria, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
A very good afternoon. I am Emmanuel Olubobokun. This is News Update. Now, Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has described as a temporary setback the verdict of an appeal court which sacked him as governor of the state. In a statement through his Director of Press and Public Affairs, Yank Berry, the governor said the verdict won't deter him from repositioning in the state on the path of unity, peace and progress. Now, the governor admonished citizens of the state and supporters of People's Democratic Party (PDP) to remain calm and assure them that as God remains on the throne, his mandate will be preserved and protected. The governor said he has instructed his legal team to file an appeal at the Supreme Court. Now, party faithful gathered in some areas of the Tudunwada Ring Road of the Jos North local government area of the state on Sunday to express their joy with music instruments blasting and danceable tunes. Now, Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shoaibu yesterday dared his boss, Governor Gordon Basake, by unfolding his ambition to succeed him next year on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). Explaining why he threw his heart into the ring, he said Edo needs a practical leader. Now, the 2024 succession plan has been a bone of contention between Basake and Shoaibu. who was endorsed by his ward for governor last week. Now his governor had declined to endorse his deputy, who hails from the north, claiming that another politician cannot be fielded by the party in secession to himself, who succeeded former Governor Adams Oshimele from the North District over 7 years ago. Although Shuaib has apologized to his boss and reiterated his loyalty, his declaration of ambition may retard the reconciliation. Still on the news, our temperature of the All Progressive Congress and his running mate in the recent Bayelsa State governorship election, Joshua Masiva, has criticized former President Goodluck Jonathan over his comments on the outcome of the election. Now, reacting to fellow People's Democratic Party's stalwart and also incumbent governor, Doyodere's victory, Jonathan declared he would have relocated his mother from his home state of Bayelsa to Abuja if the APC had won. Now, Silva expressed his dismay in the post on his Twitter handle, adding that Jonathan's comments demarcates the state. Now, according to him, the former president's words have lost him the respect of all true followers of Silva. Now, suspected political thugs have attacked the residence of a Rivers factional speaker, Edison A, in Port Harcourt, the state's capital. Now, A, who was removed as assembly leader during the move to impeach Governor Asimnilayi Fubara, later announced himself as the House Speaker. Now, details of the incident on A's residence were still sketchy, but it was gathered that security details of A's foiled the attack. Now, a source simply identified as Ken described the attack as an assassination attempt. Now, alleged that the attempted assassination was led by the head of a security tactical unit in the state, as he warned that some senior security officers in the state should be held responsible if anything happens to A and his household. Also, 600 teachers in the Federal Ministry of Education and the Federal Ministry of Defense who benefited from the federal government service elongation package for teachers are currently being owed 23 months' salaries. Now, the service elongation for teachers was introduced by the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, where the beneficiary teachers are in some of the nation's unity schools are schools owned by the military and paramilitary. Now, on January 20th, 2021, the Federal Executive Council approved a bill that sought to increase the retirement age and the service years of teachers. However, the Minister of Education, Adamu, explained that the essence of the bill was to give legal backing for the approval of the new retirement age of 65 years from 60 years for teachers and extend their period of service from 35 to 40 years. Now, the bill, according to him, also sought to introduce bursary awards, special rural posting allowances, and other items that would encourage brilliant Nigerians to take up teaching. Moving on, excellence is not a standard but a journey, as it is a continuous process of striving for improvement, pushing boundaries and setting new benchmarks. Now, these were the submissions of the chairman, CMS Grammar School Merit Award 2023, Senator Akin Odunsi, in his opening remarks at the event which held at the school premises in Bariga, Lagos. Now, PlusTV News correspondent Love Ikuko Yedokun tells us more in this report.
Grammarians from within and outside Nigeria are well represented here. The Venerable Adelaja Hall was filled to capacity with the old grammarians accompanied by their families, friends and loved ones as they relished the moment. And quickly, they settled down to the day's business. First was a citation of the chairman of the day, Senator Akin Odunsi. Senator Odunsi commended the commitment of members to excellence, which he said has remained the driving force behind the growth of the school.
As we come together to recognize and celebrate excellence, we acknowledge the toil and remarkable achievements of individuals, sects, chapters, and branches who have demonstrated exceptional performance, ingenuity, and a tireless commitment to preserving the great legacy of our
This was followed by an opening remarks by the president, Old Grammarian Society, OGS, Cyril Ogbekene. The president said the concept of the Merit Award was ingrained in the reward system culture of the CMS Grammar School as an institution.
In hindsight, most, if not all, grammarians present here would agree that the concept of the Merit Award we run today is ingrained in the reward system culture of the CMS Grammar School as an institution. And the truth can say the fact that the ever-invigorating lyrics of the world's best school song resonates in the enduring culture of our family.
Now, the awards proper. The Outstanding Grammarian Award went to late Venerable Dr. Yinka Omololu. In the Individual Merit Awards category, Adesonya Laide, Madweke Chike, Iyonda Olujide were among those honored.
On behalf of the operators of CMS Grammar School, Bariga, Lagos, we present this award to our distinguished old grammarian, Professor Adedele K. Ogunme from 1978, 87. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Alaji Nalo. This honor is well deserved and is long overdue. Congratulations on behalf of the whole Grammarian Society.
Some of the awardees spoke with Plus TV News. With so much nostalgia, they relieved how CMS Grammar School helped in preparing them for the future.
Awards like these are very significant because it encourages others to follow suit and to let you know that you are not a fool giving to others. So it kind of energizes you, it gives you more energy to do even more, So, and I pray by the grace of God, we have not started, we have only just begun.
With an air of fulfillment, the president of Old Grammarians, Cyril Ogbekene, spoke on the significance of the awards.
What we're celebrating today is excellence, is consistency, is focus and determination to be the very best that you can be. And that is what we are celebrating. We celebrate it for those who have left school. We celebrate it to inspire those who are still in school. There are people from the UK, Europe. There are recipients from OGS America, and in point of fact, OGS America has got a class or this branch set award. So that's as global as it is.
The first documented Old Grammarians Merit Award was held in 2001. Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
Now, mobile straight out South Africa. Hamas gunmen have battered Israeli forces trying to push into Gaza's largest refugee camp, and at least 11 people were killed by an Israeli airstrike on a house, medics said, as their hopes rose of a deal to free some hostages from the enclave. Now, the Washington Post said that U.S. mediators were close to a deal between Israel and Hamas to free dozens of women and children held hostage in Gaza in exchange for a 5-day pause in their war. And the Post had also reported that a tentative deal had also been reached, but this was denied by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. officials, with a White House spokesperson saying efforts were continuing to clinch a deal. Now, on Sunday, however, Israel's ambassador to the United States, Michael Herzog, has said in an interview that Israel was hopeful a significant number of hostages could be released by Hamas in coming days. Now, in the business, Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Dr. Olayemi Kadoso, will this weekend examine the macroeconomic direction and outlook for the Nigerian economy, a major event expected to provide guidance to key decision makers. Now, Kadoso will address bankers and other public and private sector stakeholders at the annual Bankers' Dinner of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, in Lagos. Now, Christian, the Governor's Day, the event provides the CBN Governor the opportunity to address stakeholders on the economic and financial market development during the year, as well as the economic outlook for the coming year. Now, the CIBN will also hold the grand finale of its 60th anniversary celebration, underscoring 6 decades of its commitment to professionalism, integrity, innovation, and ethics in the banking and finance industry. Now, the Dana and 60th anniversary celebration is expected to draw an assembly of over 500 leaders from the banking industry, influential business leaders, and senior government officials. I'll move on straight to sports. Nigeria beats Tanzania under 20 girls 2-1, which is 3-2 on aggregate, and the second leg of the 2024 under 20 Women's World Cup African Qualifying Series second round fixture at the Moshood Abiola Stadium, Abuja, on Sunday to progress to the final round of qualifiers. Now, both sides battled to a 1-1 draw in the first leg in Dar es Salaam last Sunday. Now, the Falconets edged their counterparts 2-1 as goals from Janet and also Comfort Lawrence ensured that Christopher Danjuma's girls sailed to the final qualification phase. And that's the news updates. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. Now, you can also view us from Limix on Limix.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Emmanuel Olubobu. Many thanks for watching.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Sites like these have become commonplace around Lagos, Nigeria's commercial hub. Street beggars looking pitiful, others stretching their hands, calling for alms or scuttling for limited meals or gifts handed them by gracious passers-by. However, Lagos does not seem alone in this. Ibadan, an ancient city in Oyo, southwest Nigeria, isn't left out. The pace-setter state also has a teeming number of beggars, many of them immigrants from Niger and Chad. Halima is a 37-year-old mother of this kid. Daily, she heads for the streets to make a living off street begging.
Some people they give me 10 and some people they give me 20 now, 15 now. So the bar is for Yoruba where they sell rice.
She tells us that her street begging business pays off a lot in Nigeria.
Nigeria good. Nigeria they give us food, they give us clothes, they give us everything. Nigeria is fine, nothing unique. Nigeria is good. I don't stay in Nigeria 3 years.
Now back to Lagos at Jagambe precisely. A suburb dominated by low-income earning Nigerians is where we find Fatima, a 15-year-old who migrated from Bauchi and was introduced to a life of street begging by her auntie.
My mommy don't have money.
the money where she don't have, where she give us to eat. She don't have money for put us for school. Why she come dey begging?
She is not alone. Her 54-year-old mom had also taken to street begging for survival. She recounts how tales of green pastures had made her migrate from her home state of Bauchi. She tells us her experience.
Da yara bakwai kuma ba da kuɗi shine masababin na taho Lagos. Har ne wannan shekaru ina nan Lagos.
Well, for this mother and daughter, an intervention made all the difference.
Ba ni da jari ne. Ba jari. Shine yasa nake yi kuma wannan oga shine yazo shi yace in daina yin bara in kama sana'a in bayar yara na biyu makaranta na bashi yara na wa'annan guda biyu makaranta. Yawa.
Currently, the begging system in Nigeria is structured, in a way that these beggars are most times being imported from the north, to beg, and there are those who they remit to.
A 2013 survey posted by Science Direct indicated that the total population of beggars in Nigeria stood at 12.4 million persons as of 2013. The Northwest hosted 41.1%, the Northeast hosted 28.2%, the North Central hosted 12.9%, leaving Southern Nigeria, including the Southwest, the South-South, and the Southeast, with 17.8%. Today, Fatima is enrolled in a school, while her mum runs a petty trade.
Shekara ta 25 a nan Lagos. Ina zanne wannan ya ce shi wannan oga ya ce bara ba kyau. Na ce bara ba kyau oga ya ce yi. Sai na ce ni na barbara na kama sana'a. Sai ya ce ki ban yaranki makaranta. Shine yara na guda biyu na bashi makaranta suke zuwa makaranta. Yawwa. To kin ji mu garinmu muna Bauchi a ƙasar Bauchi muke kuma garinmu jama'are local. Jama'are local garinmu shekara ta 55. Yawwa. To yanzu dai muna nan muna maleji a nan. Kuma a cikin hakan nan ba mu samu jari ba jari. Ba mu da jari amma muna nan muna maleji.
They are thankful, but together they feel that street begging is wrong.
Make them find another work. That beg is no good.
Well, unfortunately, their gospel doesn't seem popular for these crop of beggars found on the other end of Lagos Island, Ajah precisely. For these ones, life seems to be about waking up each morning, hoping to get alms from sympathetic passers-by.
Gwamnati ta ce za ta iya mana, kuma gwamnati ba ta iya mana ba. Mun zo muna fama ga wahala, ga rana, ga yunwa ta ishi.
A cikin yaran mun da baban mu yayi fani ne babba. Duk wanda suke bayana duk kanana ne ba su san komai ba. No, I know the bed. I know go bed. I know go bed. I will give my daddy. May put me for school.
Jigawa, wahala ce ta kawo mu mijina ne ya mutu. Mijina ne ya mutu. Shi ne ya sa na zo ni. Ba kwan ne ya sa na zo ni ba. Nema na zo ni ci da bakina. Diba fa kaina. Bata iya Ingilishi ba. Wa diba kaina. Ba moni yunwa. Shekara ta guda.
Some of these passers-by think that street begging constitutes a nuisance.
We Nigerians are the ones that are still making these guys be on the road.
Okay.
Normally, we should not give them money. We should stop giving them money. You understand? When we are giving them money, then we are supporting it.
Okay.
So when we stop giving them money, they will move.
Since they beg for, let's say, quite some time, and I think they should try and raise up something and delve into one business or the other rather than begging it.
Why do people take to street begging? We spoke to a psychologist.
Begging starts from environments where there's deprivation from basic amenities and where there's poverty. However, once the habit starts, it becomes a disease of the neural system where it becomes self-replicating. once a person goes on the roadside and asks for alms, and that person's behavior finds expression, the normal way the brain works is that that habit or that behavior now becomes habitual. It's a self-replicating habit, and so several people who tried the first time and they were able to get a few naira from that begging habit, they will be chasing that feeling. There's a feeling that comes from begging and getting someone to give you alms.
In Lagos, the number of child beggars and adult beggars, experts say, runs into over 1,000, as it would be recalled that earlier in 2020, some beggars numbering over 1,000 blocked the entrance to the Lagos State House of Assembly and the governor's office to protest against what they termed undue harassment and arrest by officials of the state government. With three northern states of Kano, Niger and Nasarawa recently banning street begging, the Lagos state government may not have officially banned street begging, but has constantly wasted no time to reiterate its position on the zero tolerance for street begging.
It's illegal. In Lagos, the law does not tolerate it. There is a law that is against street begging, and we are trying to enforce the law. We are actually enforcing the law because anybody who is caught doing street begging in Lagos is going to face prosecution. And if they are kids, they can be taken up the streets and taken to centers. If you are brought before a magistrate for begging, you can be fined up to 30,000 naira, or you can be sent to 1 year imprisonment.
Some schools of thought believe that if people were not given to street begging, there wouldn't be beggars on the streets.
We should give to beggars, but not those who have the capacity to work. If you want to look at it, you need to find what is the definition of a beggar. Is it somebody who is incapacitated, or is it somebody who has just chosen begging as a lifestyle? If it's somebody who has chosen begging as a lifestyle, no. But if it's someone who is incapacitated, if you go to other climes, they have people who are incapacitated, but there's a way they are taken care of. If Nick was in Nigeria, he would have been a street beggar. But today, Nick is far richer than some industrialists in this nation. Why? Because there are nations that have provided some sort of support.
So what does religion say about street begging?
According to the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we are told that we should earn a living in the most legitimate way. So Islam does not encourage street begging, doesn't encourage begging at all. Yes, Islam encourages zakah and sadaqah, which is given to those people in need, but not to people that are able-bodied, that can actually work and earn a living. So we don't Islam does not encourage begging. Like training is a good place to start. Education, educating them to make them understand that even the Islamic religion, because you see that a lot of these people, they've been brainwashed thinking that it's okay. And even in Nigeria, because even now, we look at the people that are begging on the streets. People literally beg everywhere now, even on social media. We see people going on social media to beg in a way that maybe you call it a sophisticated kind of begging. So I think the first thing is education, to educate those people that it is not acceptable. Even the religion that they practice does not accept it. It's totally unacceptable.
Some people have made a life out of begging. No, that is not scriptural. The Bible said, he that does not work should not eat. But let him, then secondly, let him that steals steal no more, so that he can work, so he can have to give. So we are permitted to give to beggars, provided that, or let me put it this way, we should give to beggars who are incapacitated, not those who have the capacity to work. If you've got the capacity to work, go and work.
The state government considers street begging as unlawful, but what is being done to contain it?
There are centers that they are being taken to any time they are caught doing that, and they are taken to those centers and they are being fed there, they're being clothed there, and the government is totally responsible for their upkeep so that nobody is encouraging a street begging. But anybody who is found taking off the streets 1 or 2, 3 times and is still doing it, the person may go to jail.
Can street beggars be rehabilitated?
I've worked with a particular person who had access to get a job years after begging, but because that has become habitual and that feeling is always, drives home that fulfillment, the person declined the job at the expense of a paying job because the brain had been wired to get a reward for not doing anything. Yeah, they can be rehabilitated into the society by therapy and coaching. Therapy to help them alter that way of thinking, coaching to help them so that they can charge after the goals in an unstoppable manner. They certainly can be rehabilitated, but it takes work and it takes the desire of that person to want to stop that habit. No matter how professional the therapist or the coach they're working with is, if they're not determined to leave, it will be difficult for us to ride on that energy and make them break free from that particular habit.
With governments at all levels working towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 1, which is ending poverty, we do hope that the number of street beggars in Lagos reduces remarkably.
Hello and welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Bunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us today. On this episode of Red Carpet, we'll feature a Malawian painter's work illustrating the unbreakable bond between music and culture among Africans. An event by Mashoud Creations celebrating Black History Month, and FESPACO opens in Burkina Faso. Let's begin the show. And let's start the show with some highlights of the latest entertainment news from around the world. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has established a crisis team in response to last year's Academy Awards incident in which actor Will Smith went on stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock. This year, the Oscars ceremony is being held on March the 12th, according to Academy CEO Bill Kramer. Queens New York native Evie Rockwell's debut feature, 1001, took the grand prize for the U.S. dramatic competition at this year's Sundance Film Festival. The film stars Teyana Taylor making her debut as a leading actor. Rockwell's cast Taylor after watching hundreds of tapes for the role of Inez, a young woman who kidnaps her son Terry from the foster system and becomes fiercely dedicated to providing him with a sense of home and identity. That is according to reports. And former film producer Harvey Weinstein was given 16 additional years in prison after a jury convicted him of the rape and sexual assault of an Italian actor and model. Weinstein was earlier sentenced to 23 years in 2020 for a similar conviction in New York. A U.S. judge has handed disgraced R&B singer R. Kelly a 20-year prison term for child pornography and other charges, but he will serve most of it concurrently with the previous sentence. Kelly is already serving a 30-year sentence he received after a Brooklyn jury in a separate federal trial convicted him on racketeering and trafficking charges. R. Kelly's lawyer is appealing both of the singer's federal convictions. The 28th Pan-African Film and Television Festival of Ouagadougou was held recently in the Burkinabe capital. The fight against terrorism was at the center of the speeches presented. We get more from VOA's Yakuba Wadrogo and Thierry Kware. The 2023 opening choreography of Fespaco by Serge Aimé Coulibaly was inspired by Martin Luther King's famous phrase, "I have a dream." A dream for a better tomorrow for Burkina Faso and for Africa was represented in a creation built around patriotism and the fight against terrorism.
Well, I heard about the terrorist attack on my way when I was kind of entering the plane. But for some reasons, I'm not bothered at all because, you see, these things happen everywhere in the world, and I believe I'm going to go back home safe.
Competing film productions in different categories address the ongoing security crisis. The Malian Prime Minister Choguel Kokala Maiga was present at the opening of Fespaco alongside his Burkinabe counterpart, and he returned to the idea of a federation between Mali and Burkina Faso.
We have discussed a lot on this issue of the Mali-Burkina Federation with other countries, and what I heard today from men of culture is to say to politicians, carry on, follow your people, don't fail, don't hesitate, don't look back, your people are with you.
The competition divided 170 films into 10 categories. 15 films from 13 countries are battling for the Yenega Gold Stallion, the most coveted trophy. The closing is scheduled for March the 4th. Malawian visual artist Tapiwa Mlinga is one of the 5 African artists whose work is being highlighted on the cover of notebooks printed by Africa No Filter, a Kenya-based art organization. Mlinga was among the over 100 artists from across Africa who participated in the competition to provide artwork and provided an interpretation for the theme celebrating Africa's creative power. Red Carpet caught up with her in Lilongwe to talk about her work. The painting that won Tapiwa Mlinga a top 5 spot is an illustration depicting the unbreakable bond between music and culture among Africans. The 26-year-old visual artist says that success came as a surprise but has inspired her to aim high.
So I did about the music, because music actually has been part of African culture for like a while. You go to any ceremonies like funerals, weddings, there's always music to it. So I created that piece. I posted about it. People loved it. It is a good sort. I think that was my expensive painting. So when I submitted to it, when I submitted to African No Filter, they actually loved it.
The Africa No Filter is an arts organization with branches in Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria. And each year, the organization comes up with themed competitions on paintings aimed to empower visual artists in Africa with the aim of changing the narratives within and about the continent.
I'm excited in a way that people actually, now they're recognizing my work and my name is out there, and people, when they say it's T, people actually know me. That's exciting for business part. Also, it's scary in a way that now people expect more from me. I don't know how much they want for me and how much I can deliver to them. So now it's really, really scary. But I promise to do my best. Yeah, I hope it works out.
Mlinga's success comes 2 years after she went into arts, a new career she started after working as a social worker. She has been collaborating with several professional local artists, including the country's renowned pencil artist, Henry Buddha.
Yeah, she's a very good artist, very good artist. Like the way she come up with the concepts, like the concepts are very nice, and how she mixes the paint, it's very nice as well. She knows how to mix the paint, how to put it out there.
Mlinga markets her work through several social media platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, and WhatsApp. But her success is not short of challenges, including the rise in prices of painting materials on the market.
Give me a pencil. And another challenge that I have is most people actually here in Malawi, they take art as a white people hobby. So if you post about it, just like, yeah, okay, it's nice. But for them to appreciate it and actually buy or actually keep it, it's really a struggle. I think right now they are coming into place, but then still we have a larger number of people that they shy away from getting involved in art.
But challenges aside, Mlinga is pushing hard to explore international markets.
As an artist, I need to be in the platforms whereas I can go outside the country. Yeah, there's a Mexico art show, like it's a wide art show. There is a Texas art show. I need to be in those spaces. That'll be like, that's my goal.
And now to New York City. For decades, Mashoud Creations has been a cultural force in the New York fashion scene, displaying unique designs that blend African heritage with contemporary styles. In celebration of Black History Month, Mashoud opened its doors to highlighting emerging Black creatives, designers, and entrepreneurs. VOA's Kali Abdu has more.
Fashion designer Moshood Afariogun, a Nigerian immigrant from Lagos, opened his first store in Fort Greene in 1994. Over the course of 27 years, the name Moshood has become synonymous with Brooklyn streetwear. At his latest store, an event curated by multidisciplinary artist Folu Ogunyeye, is a tribute to Black creativity.
So right now we are at Moshood Official, which is a Nigerian designer he's sat over there. I don't know if you can see him from here, but he is a legendary designer whose designs have been worn by so many superstars. I can just list off some names: Stevie Wonder, Erykah Badu, Lawrence Fishburne. Like, we actually have them all along the walls of the store here. You can see the history of this place, and the whole point of this is because this is the final weekend of Black History Month. I wanted to organize a demonstration of what Black history really means.
Vendors from all over are presenting their products, from clothing and jewelry to handmade ceramics and art.
I have a clothesline called Triple G's, and that stands for God gets the glory. God gets the glory. It's more for men to feel the royalty, or women to feel when they put on the clothes, they feel like royalty, remind them back in our ancestor days, so we was being kings and queens.
Among the many talented artists featured at the event was Uzo Njoku, a Nigerian American whose colorful work was on display.
So she creates these beautiful prints like this that you can frame and put in your room. She also goes out of her way and puts all her beautiful paintings onto wearable tote bags, like little phone wallets like these. And I think just one of the more unique things that she does is really just, she'll take a piece of clothing or a handkerchief that you see in her art, and she actually makes it come true and an actual product that people can wear.
Eliza, an attendant at the event, appreciated Uzo Njoku's work.
So I started looking at her work online and just loved it. So I got the same bag, have gotten so many compliments on it, and knew that she'd also be doing a pop-up here, and wanted to come see the artists, local artists who were, and like designers who were showing.
Attendees had the opportunity to experience products from an alkaline chef and also a health and wellness resources center.
We are a resource center that allows people to now come in and not only learn the matters of health and wellness, but actually experience in the products and samples that's here for the community to heal.
I'm an alkaline vegan chef, so I educate about smoothies, liquid foods. If you see here, we have sea moss, a lot of liquid foods, soursop, green life tonic. It's all about our liquid foods. Our liquid food is as important as our solid. So I educate about that as well. And also I sell sound vibration music. You know, when we talk about health, we talk about the mind, body, and spirit. From the sound to what we eat to what we do, our liberty. So this event alone is a wellness because we have everybody tapping into the abundance that surrounds us, and it's all about the abundance that's within us and all around us.
Kali Abdu, VOA News, Brooklyn, New York.
And now to sports news. On car-free days, Rwandan officials are converting roads in the capital Kigali into mini courts after introducing street tennis to the country.
On a road that might usually be bustling with traffic, Eric Muhowenimana is playing tennis. More specifically, street tennis, a game introduced in Rwanda last year. On car-free days, local authorities in the capital Kigali turn thoroughfares into mini courts.
At the beginning, it was very complicated to us because we didn't know much about rules of playing, but we caught up now, and now we're familiar with it.
The introduction of the sport was inspired by a partnership with the government of Barbados, following a visit to the East African country in November. Rwandan sports officials say the game is very affordable and can be played by anyone, provided they have the space. Smaller courts mean players need quick reflexes. Muhowenimana says it can get tiring, but that it's easy to ask a teammate to take over. Plus, he says, it's great fun.
Thank you so much for watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vonganye. For more entertainment news, be sure to check us out at PlusTvAfrica.com. We are also on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Also, don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. Until next time, goodbye, everyone. Nigerian artist Malik Afebwa is using artificial intelligence to reimagine elderly African people who he says are often marginalized, strutting on the catwalk. Here is more.
White-haired men and women strut down the catwalk in the latest fashions. But this is not real life. These hyper-realistic images have been created using artificial intelligence by a Nigerian artist. Malik Afebwa was first inspired to reimagine the roles of elderly African people after his mother fell ill.
I wanted to see them in a different space, and what inspired that was my personal relationship with my mom as well. So I wanted to see, always, imagine the elderly people in a place that is not either in a sad space or in a suppressed state.
The artist and filmmaker says the work is a response to the marginalization of many elderly African people in society, especially in the fashion world.
That history speaks a lot for us that we need to learn from to know where we're going to. So why don't we tap into that, so that love for that, to find out more about them is always me trying to tap into that space. So for me, trying to tap into that space already, I like to explore in terms of what are they missing out on, what's going on in society, and how can they be inclusive.
Afebua's images, which form his eldest series, have been widely shared on social media. As well as the catwalk, they also feature settings ranging from the beach to the boxing gym, as he seeks to showcase a brighter side of getting old.
Black entrepreneurs face significant challenges when starting and growing businesses. Many have a hard time accessing the resources they need due to what they say is discrimination and sometimes bias. However, some successful business Black entrepreneurs have found ways to overcome these obstacles. The Black Startup Series is a new documentary series about successful Black-owned business founders in America. It is produced by Ethiopian-American filmmaker Net Araya, who is currently screening the series to audiences in colleges around the country. He joined me to talk about the series and the importance of financial literacy in Black communities. Let's take a look.
Well, Jackson, I'm ready to showcase a new film and financial literacy tour called the Black Startup Series. And it's a 3-part documentary series that spotlights startup stories of successful Black-owned business founders. And the goal with this project is to be able to really shed some clarity around entrepreneurship and financial education within our global Black community.
Especially among the Black community.
Absolutely.
How did your work as an entrepreneur inform this project you're working on right now?
Yes, so as a filmmaker and entrepreneur, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to travel the world. So I've been to places like Ethiopia, Senegal, all over the Middle East, and I've seen that there is a surplus of talent within our global Black community, but also a scarce of access to opportunity. So as we all know, access is the cornerstone of power, and I've noticed that talent is universal, but the access to opportunity is not. So now with this documentary, we're providing access to diverse number of stories of representation that we all can see ourselves in.
I mean, I've had you on the show a couple of times, starting way back in 2019. And then 2020, we caught up again, but this time we were in lockdown at the beginning of the pandemic. You had a new venture going on. How was it starting a business during the pandemic?
It was interesting because essentially I was supposed to be a passive investor for a brick and mortar coffee business, but we changed a brick and mortar to a click and order business model where we turned Ground Zero into a supplying company.
Your company was called Ground Zero.
Ground Zero Coffee, East African coffee company focused on community impact through social impact. And that's what we did. We just started delivering coffee, quality coffee at people's convenience to their doorsteps. And it transitioned into being a big supply company where we supply Walmart now. We're in the Walmart marketplace to different hotels, coffee shops. And now it's able to fund and fuel a lot of my community-based initiatives.
In 2019, when we first connected, you had a documentary you were working on. Why don't you remind our listeners what that was about?
Yeah, we go way back, Jackson. When I first started in 2019 with that new documentary, it was focused on mental health within our global Black community and ways that we can be able to destigmatize mental health and be a little more comfortable talking about the silent issues that often go on inside all of us. So I went through a lot of opportunities where I was touring, sharing the film, increasing conversation awareness around mental health, and it led me now to a new project where we're now focused on entrepreneurship within our global Black community.
Right, and we'll get to that, but then you started your coffee business. We went through the pandemic. It's almost 2.5 years now. How are things looking for you?
It's amazing. The coffee business now funds and fuels the community-based initiatives, and one of them is happening right now.
Right. How did your work as an entrepreneur inform this project you're working on right now?
Yeah, so as a filmmaker and entrepreneur, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to travel the world. So I've been to places like Ethiopia, Senegal, all over the Middle East, and I've seen that there is a surplus of talent within our global Black community, but also a scarce of access to opportunity. So as we all know, access is the cornerstone of power, and I've noticed that talent is universal, but the access to opportunity is not. So now with this documentary, we're providing access to diverse number of stories of representation that we all can see ourselves in.
So the documentary series, 3 parts, right? It tells the stories of Black entrepreneurs, is that correct?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you want people to learn from? What is the message, the overarching message in this series?
Yeah, I want to help aspiring entrepreneurs become successful business owners. That's one aspect. And then I also want to be able to shed light and awareness about some amazing Black-owned businesses and connect them with investors. Something interesting that I came across during my studies is that $83 trillion is invested in venture capital and private equity, but only less than 1.3% is invested in women and people of color. Total.
Less than
1.3%
wow.
is invested in women and people of color.
That's a very small figure.
Right.
So how do we increase that?
That's what we're here to talk about, and those are the major questions I'm wrestling with. So the goal is, with this Film and Financial Literacy Tour, to focus on ways that we can make opportunities and capital more accessible within our global Black community and make entrepreneurship more attainable. So these are the type of conversations that's listed in the documentary that we want to spark within our community.
So what is the gap? Why is there less money going towards Black entrepreneurs? Is it because they don't know how to access these resources? Is it because the owners of these resources are not willing to invest in these Black businesses?
You know, it's important that we focus on Black-owned business, not as charity, but as lucrative business opportunities for investors to really invest and grow significant profit. So I think there's an educational, there's a bit of educational gap within Black-owned businesses, because I don't think we have the access to education resources as we need to. We're good at starting business because I think we're very entrepreneurial at spirit, but scaling has its own different challenges, right? And scaling requires a significant amount of knowledge base and resources in order to kind of improve the business and bring awareness to investors, for them to really identify opportunities that really can profit.
And in this series, you feature some entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs. What did they tell you is the thing that made them get ahead of the game?
Black persistence, at its core. I met so many people within this documentary, and they were telling me their story of how persistent they were and consistent they were in being able to attain great business success. So these individuals were people that were very curious, that were relentlessly resourceful, and they really were able to overcome so many challenges to get to where they are. And they have been on Vogue, they've been in New York Times, these people were in the Met Gala, doing some incredible things. So I'm really inspired and excited for the world to see it.
Did you see yourself in some of their stories?
I did. Even my story with Ground Zero Coffee, and being able to really relate to their story of being persistent, especially when you hear no's all the time. And I tell people all the time that, one yes can change the trajectory of your life. But the question is, how many no's are you willing to go through to get to that one yes that will change your life? And these people are people that are relentless to get to that one yes.
They've gotten so many no's, but that one yes has been the thing that has actually given them access to...
Absolutely. Yeah. And most importantly, they said yes to themselves. They were able to see the greatness in themselves before they were able to amount to great things.
I like
that. And that's what I want the film, that's what I want a lot of people to see within the film, that these are amazing people and you can see yourself in them, but it's important that we say yes to ourselves, our own ideas, our own entrepreneurship business concepts, and really step out and make it happen.
Aside from access to resources, what would you say is the thing or some of the factors that impede Black entrepreneurship?
One of them, I think, is just access to education, because I think it's important for us within the ideation stage of business development to not just think about just starting a business to start a business, but really think about incrementally scaling, or eventually looking at ways for the business could be acquired or going IPO. A lot of these have gatekeepers, and it's important that we understand that how we can get access to the information early within the ideation stage of business development, so that we can be a little more strategic and sustainable as a business and community.
And who are you targeting with it? Is it the people is it people in the Black community? Is it the people who are the resource holders?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little bit of both, right? Because it takes a partnership, right? I heard that, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, right? Yes. So I think it requires investors, a community of investors, startup founders, and different people, professionals, to really get together and really look at ways to really elevate business and community.
Tell us some of these people, some of the stories of the people that you feature in these stories.
Well, the first one is Paola Mate. She's a Haitian-American entrepreneur that came from Haiti to America, and she was based in New Jersey, then moved to New York. She was managing many different restaurants and decided she wanted to launch her own luxury head wrap brand. And from there, now she's been able to transition to Austin. She has a storefront, beautiful store, and she does so many different things. She does workshops for young black women, like head wrap workshops, and she's doing some exciting things. Another one is Kobla Tate, CEO and co-founder of Break the Box, which is a home ownership empowerment program helping black professionals get into home ownership. And then the last person is JP, and JP has his own company called JP's Pancake Company. He launched the first gourmet pancake food truck in Austin, Texas. Wow. So these are stellar, successful entrepreneurs in 3 different industries that are dominating the game right now.
What are some of the tips that you can give, financial literacy tips, so financial tips to people who have aspirations to be entrepreneurs?
I think one of the first things that I've learned that's helped me within my financial literacy journey was to see my life as a business and to understand that you are the CEO of your life. And the way you manage your life is the way you'll manage your business. So if you understand how to really manage and budget, and I think budget has its own negative connotation within our community because we think it's full of restrictions and self-deprivation, but it's not about self-deprivation. It's about self-awareness. So because at the end of the day, you put your money where your values are. Right? And where your values are is where you're going to go in life. So I think having a budget and looking at where you get your income, where you get your expenses, where you spend your money on, really is very telling of kind of like the relationship that you have with finances. So I think creating a budget, having a good mindset about a budget, it doesn't have to be restrictive. It can actually be empowering. Second thing I would say, financial discipline. What good is financial literacy if you don't have financial discipline, right? So financial discipline is important, right? We need to really be disciplined, and if you need
You can't just keep spending and spending.
You keep spending, right? And with that, garner some accountability, Get with people that are around the same level, or a bit ahead of you, so that you can be able to get a network. And we all know that, your network is your net worth. So I think accountability, financial discipline, and creating a budget, understanding that you need to manage your life first before you start managing business, I think that's a huge tip.
What is the first step to being an entrepreneur? Is it having an idea? Is it acquiring the resources to start the business? Is it a self-belief? Where does one gain that confidence to say, let me do this, I want to do this?
Yeah, I've heard long ago, and I was actually reading this in a book, to start a business, it takes more courage than knowledge. To scale a business takes more knowledge than courage. So I think for entrepreneurs, it starts with our creativity. It starts with our entrepreneurial spirit. It starts with us being able to see a need, a void, and being willing to step in within that gap to really super serve our audience. So I think that's the huge step. Having that courage and understanding that you're going to fail, but your altitude of success is actually dependent on your relationship with failure. So if you have a healthy relationship with failure and you can understand that it's not about being perfect, it's just about being willing.
Failing is okay.
Failing is okay.
Ambassadors on foreign missions by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu say no authority to incur expenditures thereby to return back to the country. And National Security Advisor, NSA, Malam Nuhu Ribadu has assured Nigerians and investors that national security is improving. I am Bola Oba, and this is Plus Politics. President Bola Tinubu on September 2 recalled all Nigeria's ambassadors, both career and non-career. They were asked to return on or before 31st of October. Nigeria has no fewer than 300 foreign missions. Many ambassadors said their authority to incur expenditures, AIEs, had not been sent to facilitate their return, with impeccable sources saying that their recall date has been extended to December 31st. The ambassadors also complained of cash crunch, saying allocations had not been remitted to the mission since June. Besides, they warned that Nigeria could be subjected to avoidable international embarrassment because the recall and replacement of ambassadors take about 6 to 8 months on account of agreement, that is acceptance of envoy by the host nation after screening, which takes 6 to 8 months to be completed. The ambassadors reportedly appealed to President Bola Tinubu to extend the October 31st deadline for their recall to enable their children and wards to take their promotion exams and consequently streamline the academic calendar in order not to truncate their education by dropping a year. However, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Ambassador Yusufu Tugal, in a statement by his Special Assistant on Media and Strategic Communication, Mr. Akalis Abdul Karim, said contrary to reports, the October 1 deadline was sacrosanct and further placed embargo on the foreign missions accounts, quote, to check frivolous spending by the ambassadors, unquote. Joining us to look at this is Collins Nweke, foreign policy commentator based in Belgium. Good to have you guest on Plus Politics, Collins.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bola, for having me.
Pleasure is all ours. What do you know? What have you heard from diplomats as somebody who has functioned around major Nigerian diplomats, especially in the European sphere, or in the last 25 to about 30 years? What have you heard from some of your friends in the Nigerian diplomatic service here on this issue?
Yes, indeed. Thank you again, Bola, for having me. I mean, the news coming out of the staples of Nigeria's ambassadors out here in Europe and by extension, the Americas isn't looking very good. It doesn't sound so well. And it appears to be some sort of recurring decimal because, there is always one thing or the other, and Nigerians keep hoping, keep expecting that, things will be improved. But that is obviously not the case, especially when you consider the latest, policy mishap, I must describe it. Now, what is actually happening is that the usual practice, a new president, recalls ambassadors and, appoints his own people to go out, and represent him. He represents his government in different countries of the world. So that is perfectly normal. It's, a very well known and celebrated system. But there are, of course, rules around it. For instance, like you mentioned, you don't recall ambassadors in the middle of a school term, leaving their kids high and dry in terms of truncating their education. But also, when you do that, you have to be sure that you are ready to receive them back at headquarters in Nigeria, and that means that you have to make the financial provisions for them to return back together with their households. Now, what we are gathering is that after the recall, there has not been adequate preparations made. These remain allegations, while some have found one way or the other to put themselves together and return back to Nigeria. Others are stranded. And what is even worse is that not much is coming from the Nigerian side in terms of countering, media reports that we are getting. I mean, if you add that situation to conversations with some of the, affected, diplomats, then, you begin to see that, yes, there is something that is unholy going on around there.
When you used the word stranded, I'm sitting here thinking, how could somebody at the ambassadorial level who in every material particular must have been a success case before he was appointed, how could that person be stranded in a foreign land? After all, if the privileged position were to be withdrawn by the new principal, it just behoves you to come home. So the argument of being stranded, some may find it farcical or indeed intended to embarrass the new president. How would you respond to that?
Well, the facts as we have them so far are, number one, the president, the new president, exercising his, prerogatives, has recalled the ambassadors. There is no question about that, and that is in keeping with, normal protocol, because he has to appoint his own people. Now, when you do that, I mean, quite apart from the fact that the timing of the recall is questionable in terms of, doing that right at the middle of, an academic year, as opposed to, getting them to return back to Nigeria at the end of the term, which is somewhere around December, to coincide with the Christmas holidays. They are meant to return at the end of October. That is already one serious anomaly. And then the ambassadors themselves are complaining that not adequate financial preparations were made to facilitate their return back to Nigeria, to the point that they have actually written to Mr. President to, extend the deadline of their return to December, and in the meantime, expecting that, the resources needed, the financial resources needed to, facilitate their return will be made available. Now, none of this has happened. Now, we understand that those who have been able to return did that one way or the other through personal, resources. We also gather that on the average, the sort of money needed for them to return is somewhere around $20,000 per ambassador. Now, when you calculate it, when you times that by 300, representatives, more or less, you get a sense of the sort of money that we're talking about. Government is claiming not to have that immediately yet. Yet, Bola, we are also aware that legislators are buying SUVs for themselves. So we do know, we're not out doubt, we do know that there might be different budget posts, but there is also something called financial prioritization. Obviously, that has not happened here.
Would you perchance know, maybe picking information from some of your friends in the diplomatic service or the ambassadorial class, especially across Europe, would you perchance know why the incumbent foreign affairs minister, who used to be an ambassador in Germany himself, who should know the likely implication of the conditions that these people will be cast in, why is a bit gung-ho, a bit more gung-ho than the presidency in making sure that the ambassadors' tenure are speedily ended.
Well, Bola, you need to understand one point, and that is the fact that the ministers serve under the pressure of the the president. And so what that means essentially is that the buck stops with the president. As minister, you can advise, you can recommend, but it is up to Mr. President on whose table the buck stops to, make the final call. Now, I do not want to go into the business of speculating because I do not have the details. I'm not an insider. But the point to be made here very squarely is that when something goes wrong, as it has gone wrong in this case, the buck should not stop with the foreign minister. Was actually a serving, ambassador at the time that he was appointed, and he was, as a matter of fact, doing his second term as ambassador in Germany. So yes, one will expect that he knows the rules. One will expect that there is the sense of camaraderie between him and his ambassador colleagues. Now, don't take this for a fact because, like I mentioned, I am not privy to the details. But I think the bottom line here, Bola, is the fact that it is Mr. President that calls the shots. And so when things go wrong, we need to trace it back to Mr. President himself. It could not have been that the foreign affairs minister gave Mr. President the advice to actually maltreat the ambassadors. Yes, please.
What are the likely implications of this sudden withdrawal of ambassadors across the diplomatic missions across the world? What are the likely implications for Nigeria? Just talking from your experience as somebody who has lived and observed with not only Nigerian ambassadors or Nigerian diplomats, but more so in Brussels, where you have gained some stature as a local politician who has also earned some profound degree of respect in the African community generally. What are the implications? Using Belgium now as an example.
Well, the implication is certainly that it doesn't help Nigeria's international image for a start. If anything, it makes Nigeria more of a laughingstock. A laughingstock in terms of, ambassadors, being seen from the point of view, Nigerian ambassadors being seen from the point of view of not necessarily commanding the respect and regards of their home government. Now, you need to understand this because some of these things, rather than talking about them in hushed tones, it is important to actually, call people out when they need to be called out. Can you imagine that in some instances, bills, electricity bills, house rents and all of that of our missions are not paid to the point that some of them are being threatened with eviction. Oftentimes, the counterpart Ministry of Foreign Affairs would have to step in to prevent all of that, from happening. And so, when all of this happens as well, yes, there is the arrangement that when there is no ambassador, you have what they call the chargé d'affaires, the head of mission, that actually takes over. But there is a limit to the powers of the chargé d'affaires. So what that means essentially is that certain critical diplomatic decisions would have to be put on hold until a substantive ambassador is appointed. Now, these are part of the things that, slow things down in terms of, taking Nigeria seriously. And, they don't in us as a country any respect. To the contrary, they actually make Nigeria more of a laughingstock.
And how does this specifically affect Nigerians who may want to undertake some consulate services in these foreign missions, whilst they are either as residents or transiting or visiting? What are the implications to somebody like me? If I travel out and I find myself in a situation where this kind of operational lacuna is prevalent?
Well, consular services are looked at as part of the day-to-day operations in terms of issuance of visa, in terms of, passport, issuance of passport for those, whose passports have expired, or Nigerian travelers, who lost their passport and, need certificate, travel certificate, or a renewal of, or a new passport to enable them return back to Nigeria. I don't believe that as long as, there are passport booklets, that the fact that there are no ambassadors in some of these missions would mean that people will be stranded. No, I think they will continue to get those regular service. But of course, when we go further to core high-level diplomatic representations and decisions to be taken around all of that, yes, there is there are issues, but not consular services. I don't imagine that consular services will be affected, and so individual Nigerians or travelers intending travelers to Nigeria may not be affected by the lacuna.
And one also must state that, or ask that, from your ears on the ground, is this how other African countries too treat their ambassadors, or is this kind of operational dysfunctionality or dystopia that other African countries deliberately set up for themselves in a major diplomatic post, like say Brussels, where you have the EU HQ of a sort? Is this the same thing you get to hear about other African countries?
Certainly not. Not at this level. I mean, I must say that, barring this sort of issue, Nigerian ambassadors are well respected by their colleagues. The conditions of their services, the protocols and all of that, when things run well, they run excellently well, and, to the respect of their fellow African ambassadors. Now, the fellow African ambassadors may actually be operating at, a lower scale in terms of privileges and all of that than the Nigerian ambassadors. But even at that, I am not privy to a situation where their ambassadors are left high and dry. As you know, and as you mentioned, I've been out here for the better part of the last 2 decades. So what that means is that I get to, work with and interact with different African ambassadors, and they don't experience this sort of situation, even though their condition of service may be a little lower than Nigeria. So what do you prefer? A lower condition of service, but one that is consistent, or high, condition of service when it lasts, but one that experiences interruptions and distortions? That is, the situation as we know it today.
And the machinery of getting an ambassador fully operational in his or her country of posting is said to be something that is not done in a jiffy. That is something that takes a while, because the intelligence community, the prospective host country would work on the person's background. Apart from that, the prospective host foreign ministry would have to say, okay, this person that you're sending is okay. We're ready to accord the person all the privileges deserving of. So, in this circumstance now, it is almost looking like Nigeria's substantive ambassadorial positions across the world in the next couple of months will not be functional.
Well, that is going to be one of the fallouts of the situation that they are experiencing today. It takes an average of 6-8 months, for all the background checks and protocols and all of that are processed, on both sides. I mean, from the moment that an individual has been announced or has been assigned to a particular post. So what that means is that we are looking at, and that is the best case scenario, that things will be kick-started immediately. We are not looking at ambassadors, the new ambassadors being on post until about summer next year. So that is a long time for an embassy or a mission to stay without a substantive ambassador. We even hear of situations where an ambassador is almost at the end of his or her career, has been appointed. As we know, new ambassadors have actually been named, they've been appointed, but they still need to be assigned missions where they need to serve. Some of them, while waiting for all the protocols to be completed, actually retire because they are, it is compulsory for them to retire after the age of 60, I believe.
At the age of 60 and at 35 years of service, I guess.
Absolutely.
But having said that,
one of those can fall due, and then, you have been appointed, but you don't get to actually sit in the.
But I was thinking that ambassadorship is a political appointment that actually is somewhat protected from the classical conditions of the civil service. But
not necessarily. So you have two forms of ambassadors. You have the career ambassadors, who are foreign service officers rising through the ranks to the position of ambassador. Those are the careerists, okay? And so they fall under the same terms and conditions of the civil service. But you also have the political ambassadors, that is ambassadors by appointment, who may not necessarily be career ambassadors. They may be in politics, statesmen, non-state actors, and so on and so forth, but they possess one strategic value or the other for Nigeria, for a particular country, and so where the president appoints them to such a position. So such political appointees as ambassadors are not affected by that.
Okay, I get you. It's like the headship of say the position of the chief of army staff or the chief of defense staff may be political appointment, but even at that, when it's time to go, if you don't go, people will see it as a gross abuse of the career conditions through which you were engaged. But just as my last question now, an average American watching this program, or a student of international diplomacy watching this program may say, you know what, you borrowed your system from America, and America is also having this kind of dysfunctionalism. not so much because the ambassadors are starved of funds or they don't get to pay rents for their missions and services. But you know what? That the partisan implication has also, look, America only had to appoint an ambassador. The American Senate only had to confirm the ambassador to Israel after the Hamas terrorist attack of Israel. And you know, President Biden is now in the last 2.5, 3 years that wanted an ambassador, you know, sitting in the American mission in Israel and across the world. You know, America now has a sizable percentage of its ambassadorial positions not filled. Their own is more partisan politics, but we borrowed their system anyway. So maybe we should just get used to it. If you don't want to be messed up, don't accept ambassadorial posting. How would you? I hope I'm not sounding too cynical. I was even listening to myself, and I was feeling, well, if somebody had asked this of you, how would you have felt? But you know, some questions must be asked, however stupid they sound.
Absolutely. Well, the point here, Bola, is that we're looking at respecting the tenets of good governance, pure and simple, okay? Whether it's in the United States or whether it's in Nigeria, when you do not respect those tenets and when you do not plan ahead, then you are planning to fail. That is essentially what this is all about. Because with a little bit more planning and a little bit less greediness on the part of politicians, they will be able to realize the importance of diplomacy and actually earmark commensurate resources to finance our foreign policy. But that appears not to be the case, and that is why you have some of these lacuna. And so one will hope that with the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that they would begin to work towards sorting out these inconsistencies to ensure that Nigeria repositions itself diplomatically, because when it does, it has some sort of trickle down effect to domestic politics and the welfare of Nigerians in Nigeria.
I was picking a friend's brain, a friend who is quite versed in international politics, prior to coming on air, and he said, Bella, what do you think? This is a government that, without having all the requisite officers of state in place, the president announced he was removing subsidy. Without having all the necessary preparations, the president said he was floating the currency. And that, Bella, why are you shocked that even before having the adequate handshake and handover mechanism in place, that somebody had announced that they were withdrawing ambassadors? I don't know if you have anything to say to wrap up finally with that, but that's his opinion, I told him.
Yeah, well, honestly speaking, there have been quite a sizable number of policy somersaults on the part of President Tinubu since assuming office. Now, if I was on the phone with Mr. President, at this moment, there are just two things that I will be telling him to do. Number one is for him to be more personally involved in the decisions that are coming out of his, presidency. That's number one. And then number two, I believe that, there is a very, very critical need for him to, review his kitchen cabinets, because it cannot be that
Collins Nweke, we really have to go, Collins. I'm sorry. Time has not been. I would really want to engage you much more than this, but we have to go. Thank you very much, Collins, for taking the time. Hope it's not too cold where you are. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
You could see. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Bola. Have a good weekend.
Wish you the same. We'll go on a short break, and when we're back, we'll take on the second segment of the show.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
National Security Advisor, NSA, Malam Nouri Badu, says kidnapping has replaced armed robbery in Nigeria today because people no longer carry cash about. The NSA was addressing participants Thursday at Day 2 of ongoing All Nigeria Editors Conference, ANEC 2023 in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State Capital, said the trajectory of the nation's insecurity was allowing Boko Haram, banditry, Niger Delta, and Southeast unrest to fester for too long. He said, quote, "These are four massive security problems and each is capable of bringing us to our knees." Malam Nouri Badu, however, assured Nigerians and investors that national security is improving. The security advisor reminded Nigerians where the nation was 6 months ago and stressed that Nigeria now has direction on the ways to end insecurity. Take a listen.
Took over the country. We had 4 active security challenges, serious ones. Even one alone will undermine very physical and continuous management of a country. We had the Boko Haram and Islamic insurgency, which for about 15 years or so now ongoing. We have had the Niger Delta, we do have the Niger Delta for over 30 years of insecurity. In fact, the banditry and the kidnapping, especially within the area of northern Nigeria, north central, northwest, and so on. And also, unfortunately, what is still a little bit going on with the southeast. These 4 massive problems, each one is capable of really bringing us to our own knees. All of them very active. At the time when we took over, probably like last year, average we used to record minimum of 1,200 or more violent deaths as a result of criminal activities, banditry, terrorists, those who undermine the state and make life difficult for our own people. Yes. And we went to work. We did. The time we took over, the production crude oil, which is like what is an indication of things happening, was just about 1.1 million to 1.2. And often, how you know whether things are working or not? How many cargoes are you exporting? How many cargoes of crude oil? This is what tells you the story. You have less than 20 a month. We worked quietly. Today, crude oil production is over 1.7 million.
Joining us on this topic is a security expert and former national coordinator, Network on Police Reform in Nigeria, Emmanuel Ikule. Emmanuel, good to have you guest on Plus Politics. Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes, good to be part of the program.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate this. How would you respond to the remarks of the National Security Advisor to editors in Oyo? Hello?
Yeah, so for me, they have been there have been no difference between what we're experiencing before and the new administration.
But he's claiming otherwise.
I didn't get it.
Emmanuel, the National Security Advisor is claiming otherwise, that things have improved under them in the last couple of months that they came in. Is that correct by your own perception or by your own understanding?
That is not correct, because most times these persons make such statements because most times they travel by air. People that travel by road, they know the situation in the country. The country is not safe anywhere. No matter how we try to put it, there are still people on the road disturbing people by day, and there are still a lot of persons that are being still arrested unlawfully, and they are still not even in correction, in police detention centers till date, without doing anything. There are still raids being done regularly. We'll not even talk about the support to criminal persons like people like Asari and others, empowering them to recruit army when the constitution prohibits all that. So things are getting worse. They are not being improved. So if the statements are being made like that, it's just a political statement trying to support the party he's representing. But I'm hoping that we can outgrow sentiment, personal sentiment or affiliation to political parties and try to be patriotic to the country. Because these have gone too far and it's affecting us. So for me, nothing has improved. There's very, very important for security leaders for we to have more like a security summit that will be able to streamline all these issues affecting the security sector, put it on the agenda within 4 years and long-term plan, list out these issues and see which ones will address per year. Not just list every year, and then at the end of the day, we still have nothing is being improved. People are still dying daily, and in fact, currently, it's like there's no value for Nigerian citizens again. So it brings the question of, do we still have government officials that works towards protecting the lives of citizens, or are there just to turn government institutions to personal property? The supplementary budget speaks to that. So I'm just hoping that this can be fixed.
From the way you have spoken, you seem to be a somewhat disillusioned professional who does not believe that the security situation is improving, and who indeed believes that the remark of the NSA is inconsistent for you with what you believe is the reality. Am I right?
Yes. I have been privileged to work as the National Coordinator Network on Police Reform in Nigeria. And with that, we have a network of persons in different states, and we get feedback directly on ground. I've also been privileged to travel. From last year, I traveled in more than 12 states, and currently, still this year, I've also been able to travel similar number of states. And outside traveling by air, I also travel by land, by road, to also get this feedback directly. I have interface with people regularly to be able to get feedback on issues happening on ground. So I talk based on what I see in the field and with evidence I have on hand. Yes. So situations like that cannot just be addressed by mere speech. During the elections, there have also been, particularly in Imo State, a lot of persons didn't come out. There were citizens came out for elections, and still in more than 10 persons, 10 polling units and wards, particularly in Imo State, there were no elections and there were no security agencies on ground. And after elections, there has been no reports to try to discipline those officers that may have been posted to those areas. Don't forget that money was allocated to address these issues and also support logistics, provide logistics for security agencies for free and fair elections in those areas. So if these persons were not on ground there and INEC officials were not even around there, what happens to the money that was given to provide security, at the same time provide people the opportunity to vote in those areas? Yes.
Emmanuel, if we want to lambaste the government officials for speaking without credible statistical materials, we also want to say that, okay, those of you who are security professionals should also be speaking with statistical materials, data that is reliable, that can... I know you alluded to the Imo elections and the fact that the turnout may have been low because people perceived a scenario of insecurity. But until people like you start speaking to data, they may just think the opinion of partisans who don't like them, or don't you think so?
Yeah, so I understand from the angle you are coming from, and yes, data is important. I posted on my Twitter account about more than 15 polling units that had no representative. There were people on ground. There were no security agencies on ground. And there can also be videos that can actually also post to also support the fact that there were no elections and there was not security agency on ground.
Well, okay, Emmanuel, we really have to be careful because we don't really want to go into a totally different topic. However, we want to thank you because, come to think of it, you've actually made your point that you quite disagree with the opinion or the submission of the National Security Advisor, and you are not quite convinced that there has been any improvement since this administration came into being in the area of security. Is that the summation of your opinion this evening?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you very much.
But I still believe that we still have about 4 years still on ground, 3 to 4 years still. So things can still be fixed. And as I suggested earlier, there can be a national summit and invite stakeholders and we'll have like a work plan. Other countries have a yearly work plan and also more like a strategic plan for some years. And they list out things they want to achieve. And while working towards this, there's also ensuring that there's accountability for the resources spent in improving each sector. there's also accountability on the behavior and conduct of policing agencies in the field.
Okay,
because
Emmanuel Ekule, I really do appreciate you, and I like the fact that you are ending with proposition of ideas, solutions. I like people who speak to solutions after having diagnosed or identified problems. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Emmanuel. Throwback.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Today's throwback. Sir Louis Philip Odumegu Ojukwu, richest quote-unquote Nigerians of the early of the 1800s and the early 1900s. Sir Louis Philip Odumegu Ojukwu, OBE, officer of the British Empire, 1909 to 1966, was an early 20th century Nigerian business mogul from the legendary Ojukwu family of Nwakanwa, quarters of Obiono Umudim Nnewi in today's Anambra State. He had his primary education in Asaba, today's capital of Delta State, and the famous Opuadel Training Institute in Calabar, now the capital of Cross River State, for his post-primary education. Ojukwu started his working life at the agricultural department before leaving to join the historic merchandising company John Holt as a tire sales clerk. He also incorporated a textile company in Onitsha to supplement his income while he was still in paid employment. At John Holt, he noticed the negatively biting effect of the serious shortage of adequate transportation on Eastern traders. His entrepreneurial drive to annex the business opportunity made him leave paid employment to launch his own transport company to meet the urgent need in the transportation sector. He was the founder of Ojukwu Transport Limited, and as a transport company, Ojukwu Transport Limited was the first major transport enterprise that moved Easterners to Lagos from the Asaba end of River Niger after they might have crossed over from Onitsha on boats. Throughout the period of the Second World War and after, the Ojukwu trucks were highly engaged and metaphorically minted money for the owner. At a point, the British had most of their supplies for the war from Nigeria moved by, as they often referred to his vehicles, quote, Louis' trucks, or Louis's trucks, a service for which Ojukwu was later elevated from OBE shortly after the war and was created as a knight of the British Empire by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. His outstanding business success was also enhanced by the economic boom after World War II, working with the newly inaugurated produce boards of the then Eastern Regional Government. He provided his fleet for commodities transportation and for other traders' use. Ojukwu Stores Limited and Ojukwu Textiles were also arms of his mega business conglomerate. Indeed, he was the first and founding president of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, NSE, as well as the founding chairman of the defunct African Continental Bank, ACB. He was also a third chairman or served on the boards of directors of some of Nigeria's blue chip companies such as Shell Oil Nigeria Limited, Guinness Nigeria Limited, the federal government-owned Nigerian National Shipping Line NNSL, defunct now, Nigerian Cement Factory, Nigeria Coal Corporation, Costain West Africa Limited, John Holt PLC, where he had once worked, Nigeria Marketing Board, amongst others. He won a parliamentary seat to the House of Representatives of the National Assembly during the nation's First Republic. During the 1950s, he diversified his interest and invested heavily in the real estate sector, particularly in Ikoyi, Lagos, and Enugu. During the pre-independence period and in the First Republic, he was an active member and donor, major donor, to the NCNC political party. He was a one-time member of the House of Representatives, as earlier stated. In 1958, he was chairman of the Eastern Regional Development Corporation and the Eastern Regional Marketing Board. As his wealth grew, his influence and clout began to extend beyond the borders of Nigeria. Sir Ojukwu, who was the father of the Biafran secessionist leader Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, died in 1966, about a year before the Nigerian Civil War, which erupted in 1967. The didactic. Sir Ojukwu early in his life recognized the importance of multiple income streams. As an employee, he started another enterprise to complement or supplement his income. Also, he saw solution provision in the profound shortage of adequate transportation system then between Eastern Nigeria and Lagos, which made him to start the transport company. When others probably saw something to mourn about, he saw solution, he saw business opportunity. What are the problems you are celebrating instead of solving? It is about time you turned them to your life's golden nuggets. And that's it on the show tonight. I am Bola Oba. Have a good night.
Management of a country. We had the Boko Haram and Islamic.
On my paintings are Kike Johnson, but I mean, yeah, I think so. Thinking about it now, I'm not even sure, but yeah, I think so. Most of them have my name on it, apart from my fashion brand though. My name is Kike Lomo Johnson. I am a visual artist and a fashion designer. My art is inspired by a lot of things, by Black women, by colors, animations, different things, a lot of things that like inspire me, but I naturally enjoy drawing Black women. I think it's amazing, yeah. Yeah, sometimes I have artist block where I want to draw something, but I can't, I just get like, okay, I don't know what to do, or I just get, there's just a block, you know, so sometimes I have to get out of that phase by either drawing something else or creating something different, or maybe getting inspiration from something else totally different from what I am doing at the moment. So that way I get inspired again and I get to draw and actually do something. Black women are amazing, number one. We have a lot of amazing features. You know, as an artist, there are different things I see. Like I can see someone's face and I'm like, oh my God, I need to draw that, the angle, you know, just different things on the face that makes it very interesting, you know, to visualize and to draw. You know, and then we have different skin tones. So it's just amazing to see how you can blend colors together to get a particular tone, you know, and you can have 5 different women with 5 totally different skin tones. And it's just, every time I see someone, I always look through, you know, look at those things, the shadow, the light, and then all of that. I think I enjoy the process most about expressing myself through art. I enjoy how it's done. I enjoy seeing the finished product. After spending like 6 hours drawing something, I'm like, okay, I think we're good to go. I enjoy the entire process generally. I just like doing. So there are days where I don't want to create portraits. I draw maybe something minimal. I can do like a minimal line art. And it's okay. This is all I'm doing today. And I enjoy the process of that. That might take me 30 minutes, but I still enjoy going through that process. The Nigerian art space is amazing. It's growing and it's just very broad now. There are a lot of opportunities for people like me in the industry. We are doing so many amazing things, from digital art to traditional art to even NFTs. There's just so many things that Nigerian creatives are doing now that I think it's just amazing. To see that Nigeria went from not appreciating art as much to now appreciating art is a good thing. Love it. I actually wish I did go to an art school. I think that way maybe I'd have been like Picasso right now. But no, I didn't go to an art school. I learned everything myself. I've always loved drawing. When I was a child, I would draw Mickey Mouse. I would draw like just different cartoonish things, so I've always enjoyed drawing. I've enjoyed the process. Yeah. All right. So for young female aspiring artists in Nigeria, I'll say they should go for it. In this industry, I've come to understand that there are not so many female artists as much as there are men. So it's a good thing to see women want to become artists and actually do it. One major thing is you just have to keep practicing, just get better at your craft, and that's it. Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities out there. Art has influenced my fashion in different ways, from colors to patterns to just creating something. Sometimes I just do a design, I'm like, okay, this is not what I wanted, but at least we tried it, So art for me is life. Everything around me is art. I look at every single object and I see shadows, I see lights, I'm looking at the way it's done, So art has influenced my fashion in different ways, and I'm excited about that. I enjoy it. So in a few years, I see myself doing amazing things, bigger things than I'm doing now, in the international workspace, nationally, and just doing, I hope to have a major studio in a few years' time where, anybody can just come to us and say, okay, I want to create this type of art, and we can have someone working in the studio create it. Different things, from animation to illustrations to different type of artwork.
A very good afternoon. I am Emmanuel Olubobokun. This is News Update. Now, Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has described as a temporary setback the verdict of an appeal court which sacked him as governor of the state. In a statement through his Director of Press and Public Affairs, Yank Berry, the governor said the verdict won't deter him from repositioning in the state on the path of unity, peace and progress. Now, the governor admonished citizens of the state and supporters of People's Democratic Party (PDP) to remain calm and assure them that as God remains on the throne, his mandate will be preserved and protected. The governor said he has instructed his legal team to file an appeal at the Supreme Court. Now, party faithful gathered in some areas of the Tudunwada Ring Road of the Just North local government area of the state on Sunday to express their joy with music instruments blasting and danceable tunes. Now, Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shoaibu yesterday dared his boss, Governor Gordon Basake, by unfolding his ambition to succeed him next year on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Explaining why he threw his heart into the ring, he said Edo needs a practical leader. Now, the 2024 succession plan has been a bone of contention between Basake and Shoaibu, who was endorsed by his ward for governor last week. Now, the governor has declined to endorse his deputy, who hails from the north, claiming that another politician cannot be fielded by the party in succession to himself, who succeeded former Governor Adams Oshimele from the North District over 7 years ago. Although Shoaibu has apologized to his boss and reiterated his loyalty, his declaration of ambition may retard the reconciliation. Still on the news, our temperature of the All Progressive Congress and his running mate in the recent Bayelsa State governorship election, Joshua Masiva, has criticized former President Goodluck Jonathan over his comments on the outcome of the election. Now, reacting to fellow People's Democratic Party stalwart and also incumbent Governor Doyodere's victory, Jonathan declared he would have relocated his mother from his home state of Bayelsa to Abuja if the APC had won. Now, Siva expressed his dismay in the post on his Twitter handle and adding that Jonathan's comments at the markets at the state. Now, according to him, the former president's words have lost him the respect of all true followers of Siva. Now, suspected political thugs have attacked the residence of a Rivers factional speaker, Edison A, in Port Harcourt, the state's capital. Now, A, who was removed as assembly leader during the move to impeach Governor Asimnilayi Fubara, later announced himself as the House Speaker. Now, details of the incident on A's residence were still sketchy, but it was gathered that security details of A's foiled the attack. Now, a source simply identified as Ken described the attack as an assassination attempt. Now, alleged that the attempted assassination was led by the head of a security tactical unit in the state, as he warned that some senior security officers in the state should be held responsible if anything happens to A and his household. Also, 600 teachers in the Federal Ministry of Education and the Federal Ministry of Defense who benefited from the federal government service elongation package for teachers are currently being owed 23 months' salaries. Now, the service elongation for teachers was introduced by the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, where the beneficiary teachers are in some of the nation's unity schools are schools owned by the military and paramilitary. Now, on January 20th, 2021, the Federal Executive Council approved a bill that sought to increase the retirement age and the service years of teachers. However, the Minister of Education, Adamu, explained that the essence of the bill was to give legal backing for the approval of the new retirement age of 65 years from 60 years for teachers and extend their period of service from 35 to 40 years. Now, the bill, according to him, also sought to introduce bursary awards, special rural posting allowances, and other items that would encourage brilliant Nigerians to take up teaching. Moving on, excellence is not a standard but a journey, as it is a continuous process of striving for improvement, pushing boundaries and setting new benchmarks. Now, these were the submissions of the chairman, CMS Grammar School Merit Award 2023, Senator Akin Odunsi, in his opening remarks at the event which held at the school premises in Bariga, Lagos. Now, PlusTV News correspondent Love Ikuko Yedokun tells us more in this report.
Grammarians from within and outside Nigeria are well represented here. The Venerable Adelaja Hall was filled to capacity with the old grammarians accompanied by their families, friends and loved ones as they relished the moment. And quickly, they settled down to the day's business. First was a citation of the chairman of the day, Senator Akin Odunsi. Senator Odunsi commended the commitment of members to excellence, which he said has remained the driving force behind the growth of the school.
As we come together to recognize and celebrate excellence, we acknowledge the toil and remarkable achievements of individuals, sects, chapters, and branches who have demonstrated exceptional performance, ingenuity, and a tireless commitment to preserving the great legacy of our alma mater.
This was followed by an opening remarks by the President, Old Grammarian Society, OGS, Cyril Ogbekene. The President said the concept of the Merit Award was ingrained in the reward system culture of the CMS Grammar School as an institution.
In hindsight, most, if not all, grammarians present here would agree that the concept of the Merit Award we run today is ingrained in the reward system culture of the CMS Grammar School as an institution. And the truth can say the fact that the ever-invigorating lyrics of the world's best school song resonates in the enduring culture of our family.
Now, the awards proper. The Outstanding Grammarian Award went to late Venerable Dr. Yinka Omololu. In the Individual Merit Awards category, Adesonya Laide, Madreke Chike, Iyonda Olujide were among those honored.
On behalf of the operators of CMS Grammar School, Bariga Lagos, we present this award to our distinguished grammarian, Professor Adeleke Ogunme from 1978-87. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Alhaji. This honor is well deserved and is long overdue. Congratulations on behalf of the whole Grammarian Society.
Some of the awardees spoke with Plus TV News. With so much nostalgia, they relieved how CMS Grammar School helped in preparing them for the future.
Awards like these are very significant because it encourages others to follow suit and to let you know that you are not a fool giving to others. So it kind of energizes you, you know, it gives you more energy to do even more, you know. So, and I pray by the grace of God, we have not started, we have only just begun.
With an air of fulfillment, the president of Old Grammarians, Cyril Ogbekene, spoke on the significance of the awards.
What we're celebrating today is excellence, you know, is consistency, is focus and determination to be the very best that you can be. And that is what we are celebrating. We celebrate it for those who have left school. We celebrate it to inspire those who are still in school. There are people from the UK, Europe. There are recipients from OGS America, and in point of fact, OGS America has got a class or this branch set award. So that's as global as it is.
The first documented Old Grammarians Merit Award was held in 2001. Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
Now, mobile straight outside Africa, armies gunmen have battered Israeli forces trying to push into Gaza's largest refugee camp, and at least 11 people were killed by an Israeli airstrike on a house, medics said, as their hopes rose of a deal to free some hostages from the enclave. Now, the Washington Post said that U.S. mediators were close to a deal between